remember sort of first knowing of him because I was so young. It was certainly at the station hotel, but I think the first time I spoke to him probably was a year after I actually saw him play. You know, he was like the Beatles. He was like Muddy Waters. He was not approachable. You know, he was this rock star I got to see on a Sunday. So at the Musicians Union one night, I got to stumble over and finally got the guts to talk to him. I might have been 9 or 10, and he was standing in the corner watching the news, and said, "What you doing, Dutch?" I was very proud of myself, and he said, "Watching the news." And I said, "Oh, that's nice." He says, "Not really, I've seen the news 5 times today." I said, "Well, is that because you like the news?" So I'm 10, I didn't have a lot of intelligent conversation, and he said, "Nope, just hate game shows." And you know, I think my brother had spoken to him before that. He had the guts to get over to him and get a signature on the record, you know, and he walked over at all 8 years old and said, "Can you please sign this, Dutch?" And I stood next to my brother shaking, and Dutch said, "My name or yours?" You know, he was very good with kids actually, and of course as a kid he was petrifying because he was an icon, you know, and you don't realise you can meet your icons. I mean, my son's like that now. You know, he'll listen to CDs in my car and be shocked that I know these people, and that's what it was like with Dutch. The fact that he was approachable and that he had time for everybody was quite amazing. And because that persona on stage was the same as the offstage persona, it was really quite powerful to speak with him because it was exactly as you thought he would be. He had astounding knowledge of the fretboard, and he had a genuine blues sound. He understood blues music. He had really studied it and knew so much about it, and so we all sort of latched on as the branches to that. And as a vocalist, I think Dutch probably influenced me more in that way than as a guitar player even. His guitar playing straight up, I just can't do that. I'd love to be able to do that. I just don't think I can make that much noise with one acoustic guitar and that much of a full sound. His voice, that attack and that conviction in what he's saying is the one thing I think comes through me probably more than anything that Dutch showed me, was that you got to mean what you're singing and you got to push it out. He was amazing like that. You know, he wasn't pulling those faces for effect. He was doing it because it hurt him to sing, I'm sure of it. You know, I think he really was meaning what he was saying. He was trying to make sure you believed him. You know, I was allowed out on a Monday night to the Windsor Castle to play blues, and it was okay if I missed school the next day as long as I learned something the night before. And we couldn't find other young players. You know, just you know, I went to schools and looked for young blues players. Do you have anyone that plays blues music? And of course the schools wouldn't even know what blues music was, let alone the musicians. And ultimately, Dad made a really smart decision, which was, let's just find people who play, and we'll teach them how to play blues. Because you know, he's constantly saying everybody loves blues, they just don't know it yet. So ultimately we found 3 great young musicians and put Midnight Special together. And around that time, I guess I was starting to get to a standard where I could sit in with most people and play an actual gig, you know. So Dutch invited me out to play a few times, which was the biggest deal, you know. And it was always a big deal actually, right up to the last time I played with Dutch. I still felt like that, you know, 14-year-old kid who was able to stand on stage next to, you know, the greatest blues man I'd ever known and play along. And Dutch would, you know, make it hard, if anything. I'd love to say he made it easy, but the truth is he wouldn't tell you what key he's in. He wouldn't just stick to 12 bars, which is what the standard was. Everyone would kind of make sure you could follow along. Dutch just played, and if you couldn't do it, then tough luck. And if anything, that was a fantastic lesson to learn. It made me a good jammer because I had to be on my toes. And when Midnight Special started gigging, it meant that we didn't just have to play 12 bars all night. We could really, you know, you don't realise what you've learnt until you get on stage and you're in charge. and you realise that all these things that have been thrown at you on stage, you've actually caught on, and you've started to use it. So a baptism of fire, playing with Dutch and Jeff and those guys. Jeff always made it pretty easy. You know, Jeff has that ability of bringing out the best in each player by sticking to their comfort zone, and he's outstanding at that. You know, in fact, he's the best I've ever known at that. Whereas Dutch, I don't think Dutch really cared, or, you know, the song that came into his head was the song he needed to play. So you're just going to have to hang on for dear life and hope you don't fall off.